Welcome to Anita Talks History and Genealogy. And I want to welcome you all back and ask you to hit that like and share button. And I don't know, I'm just, today, I'm thinking about how we can continue to, learn our history and share it with our young people, and also make this a welcoming place for our young people to be. I don't, I don't feel like we are raising children to go to a war on a foreign shore and to be engaged in a battle with other people that look like us. They may not even look like us. They may be, but they are black and brown people. Just ask the racists over here running this government. They see them as not deserving to be on their land where they have, where they have oil wealth. They've been after Iran since the discovery of oil. They didn't care about Iran when Iran didn't have anything but history. And by the way, Iran has been around 5,000 years. They're like an ancient civilization, just like Africans were ancient civilizations. So these people go in to ancient civilizations and try to tear them down. They're angry, but they're angry at the Iranians. They're angry at the wrong people. They need to be angry at their gods, the gods they're serving, because that's who gave them nothing. That's who, put them on a barren land that did not have mineral wealth, like the Africans and the Middle Easterners, and even in Australia and different places. Every place they've colonized, South America has more riches and wealth than they had in Europe, which is, Europe is barren. Okay, that's all I can say. It doesn't have any of the wealth and riches that that Africa has, or that the Middle East has, or it's not beautiful like Hawaii and the Polynesian islands, the Solomon Islands and Polynesia and all that, and it doesn't have that. I think they have a lot of ice and snow, especially in the wintertime. And I'm not putting them down because, they learned to live in that environment. Unfortunately, they left that environment and started to seeing where people who were in warmer climates had so much more of a variety of plants to pick from, of fresh water, of fish, of game, had beautiful weather and beaches and diamonds. Any mineral that you could think of, they have it in Africa. They saw that and just, it drove them crazy. It drove them crazy. So they looted what they could. And then when they couldn't loot anymore, they went over there and started enslaving Africans and sending them all over the world, removing the people so it would make it easier for them to get to the mineral wealth, and having those people build countries that they had colonized, like here in the Americas. That's what happened. But they want to, in order for them to make it make sense, they have to vilify our people, our Afro people, our indigenous people. They have to vilify us. But the main purveyor of the evil was the Catholic Church. And they're still running everything. They're the main church in South America. And you can see how the South Americans are doing. They try to get away whenever they can and go, come to the United States or any other country. where they can be free. But the reason they're not free is because they're under the doctrines of the Roman Catholic Church. That's my opinion. I don't think that the church brought them anything. I think they were free, and I'm saying that because my people are indigenous to these United States, to the Americas, came from Colombia, South America, were Inca. Yes, I'm saying that because my ancestors were there too, were being exploited, were killed, were enslaved, and sent all over the world, not just here to North America, all over the world. And I think the worst thing that happened to South America and to the world was the Roman Catholic Church. They also went into Britain, and the Welsh were there. And they brought the Anglos and the Normans went in there and brought their religion and colonized and are still colonizing it. Where do y'all think the royal family came from? You know, they forced themselves on the Welsh people, the original Welsh people. You know, the ones that look like Tom Jones and darker. Those people who had their own language. And when they say the Prince of Wales, a true Welshman will tell you they're not Welsh. They're not, royalty to our family. But they have, taken away, taken the land over, taken the culture over, and just, destroy the people. That's what they do. That's their whole mission. And the sooner that we realize that, the sooner that we should organize and make sure that our history and our land and our wealth is preserved. Not for them, for us. It's okay. It's okay to make sure that you have health care, that you have a place to live. It's okay to make sure that your children are not being hunted by police. It's okay. It's okay that you have a government that actually cares about you as a citizen and doesn't see you as someone they can put in prison and turn into a slave, So I just wanted to share that because it's on my mind, it's on my heart. And I see a war coming with DJT over there messing with the Iranian people, not because the Iranian people did anything to us, but because they're sitting on all that oil wealth. And yes, they killed the Ayatollah, but there's like 1,000 other Ayatollahs waiting to take that space. The Iranian people don't want you coming there, changing their government. How are you going to change their government when yours is so raggedy? When you got an Epstein files and everything showing you inappropriate relationships with little girls. How are you going to point your finger over at the Iranians and say they are oppressing their people? DJT has stripped all of our history from the education system. Our meaning as indigenous people here, the African Americans, any black or brown people. He went and took our exhibits, out of the African American Historical Museum in D.C. He took away the slave exhibits. He's renaming Confederate memorials, giving the Confederate generals names back to the memorials. He's only a second generation born here in these United States. And that's what he's doing. And they're about to have a 250th anniversary. You know, America's supposedly going to be 250 years old, and my ancestors were in the Revolutionary War. Raleigh Penn, my ancestor, was at the siege of Yorktown, which is the last battle of the Revolutionary War. He was there. So was his brother Robert Penn, and John and Jim and Billy, Robert's sons. They were all there. Trump is not going to mention any persons of color that were with George Washington. He's not going to mention my ancestors, Ambrose Lewis and Charles Lewis. They were seamen out of Fredericksburg, Spotsylvania County, Virginia. And they were seamen for 3 years, and they completed their term. And then they became militia, and they fought at the Battle of Camden, South Carolina, during the Revolutionary War. And they had land. And guess what? The land that Raleigh Penn had was taken from him after he served in the Revolutionary War, was taken from us, so that there was nothing to pass down. The same way with Charles Lewis. He was in, if you look this up, it's called Rocket's Landing. He was a businessman after the Revolutionary War at Rocket's Landing. And they took his land and everything, so they made it so that it was not allowed to be passed down from generation to generation. They took it. And his wife, and who was my ancestor, and daughter, Nancy, who is my direct ancestor through Charles Lewis, filed intestate proceedings. And I am told that there was a land grant given to Charles, but that they sold it. It was in Kentucky, and they sold it. But he had wealth up at where Rocket's Landing, which was for mulattoes. They allow mulatto businessmen to operate within a certain area of Rocket's Landing. And he was one of those businessmen. He and Susanna, his wife, and they took all that from him. And I went to Virginia and found the roster, because you cannot join the DAR without a roster proving that your ancestor was in the Revolutionary War. So I found the roster of when Charles and Ambrose were seamen. They were serving an indenture on a Page galley. It's just a little boat right up and down the Rappahannock River. And then they went into this ship called the Dragoon ship. But everybody on the Dragoon ship during the Revolutionary War, except the officers, were mulatto. So there's a whole ship full of mulatto soldiers who were fighting during the Revolutionary War. And also Raleigh Penn, when he and the unit that he marched with, all of those men were mulatto, except the officer. So in my book, Notes and Documents of Free Persons of Color, which is the first book, I put all of their names. I put the names of Charles Lewis and Ambrose Lewis, the soldiers that were listed on the Dragoon ship during the Revolutionary War. So I listed all of them, and I listed the names of the men that marched down with Raleigh Penn from Amherst County, and they met up with Marcus de Lafayette. He was with Lafayette. I'm sorry, and he was a French, of course, he was a French general. And they marched to Yorktown together. So Lafayette was there as well. And so yes, I'm upset. This person who is an immigrant, a recent immigrant, 2 generations, and his little mouthpiece, Stephen Miller, get to go and block my ancestors who fought valiantly during the Revolutionary War. So he's only going to talk about the white people that served during the Revolutionary War. He can't even pronounce half of their names anyway. And I'm so sick and tired of having to deal with the racism and the ignorance of these people who continue to bring more and more of their own here, talking about this should be a white country. It's never going to be a white country. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I'm from Virginia. My people were here during colonization, prior to colonization, and were forced into having babies by these white folk. And those descendants, many of them are passing for white. So when you're never going to be a majority white country. You're not even a majority white country now, because you brought in, you allowed people to come from South America and Cuba and claim they were white. And you know they're not. You did that so that the numbers would make it look like there's more of you than us. But honey, ain't nobody tripping. I know who my white relatives are. They ain't, let them do what they need to do. But they ain't white. They ain't European. I mean, y'all ain't even white. That's just, something you made up when you came here. Anyway, so that's all I have to say right now. And I just want to tell y'all to hold your peace, and listen and share. And don't allow these people to have the last word about our history, about who we are. Our ancestors fought and died, for our freedom. I'm fighting and dying for my descendants' freedom, for my people's freedom. We have to. Somebody's got to stand up. Say something. Just speak truth. They don't even want us to speak truth. They see that as a weapon. But we have that. And let's not lose it. And we know when we say they, we know who the they are. We know those people who are not a part of them. And they're going to come out of the woodworks sooner or later, because they keep on, hit dog's going to holler. And we're going to see who's who up here. Okay? So y'all have a good day, and I will be back at you.